Throughout the years, we have seen technology in Formula 1 become more and more advanced. But how advanced can it go to the point of where Formula 1 becomes boring? Now, what I mean by that is that Ross Brawn, obviously one of the big guys in Formula 1 now, has came up and said that he wants to ban DRS, the drag reduction system. Now, if you don't know what DRS is, it's basically a device on the back, on the rear wing, on the back of the car, that it's just a little flap that opens, and obviously it gives the car less drag down the straights. And obviously in a race you can use it within 1 second of a car, but in practice and qualifying you can use it at any given point. Now obviously within the DRS detection zones, which obviously when you go through that zone, the driver will hear a little bleep, he can press his button and the flap opens. Obviously then when he puts his foot on the brake, it closes and he can't use it again until the next detection zone, unless he's 1 second behind the car in a Grand Prix. So when DRS got introduced, it was just basically a little thing to make Formula 1 more exciting, but it didn't really make didn't really make good friends with the fans that were saying, oh well, obviously it's going to help the car now. It's not going to help the car. It's going to help the driver. It's going to be like, well, it's pretty much artificial overtaking in a way. Like what happened to this to the slipstream and everything when the car gets dragged from the car in front. Obviously, giving that a bit of a boost. Instead of using this little device, that's like, well, what's the point in it really? So obviously I'm just basically going to be discussing in this debate show about how technology is making Formula 1, or can it make Formula 1 almost boring. Now we do know that technology is becoming so advanced that they are making driverless cars. Now I can't imagine Formula 1 being driverless, so we might get to that stage. I really don't know what the future holds, but at the moment we're just going to talk about the present. Now, technology, in these Formula 1 cars these days, it's just absolutely incredible. I can't even imagine to think the amount of stuff, that data and everything that the teams own, that the drivers know. It is really, really scary to what they used to be back in the 70s and 80s, where it was just like an engine, a couple of components here and there, But as time has went on, they've like, oh, we can use this, and we'll knock off a tenth here. Okay, we can knock off a second here. And as the times have went on, technology, they've just found more ways just to make it easier to beat their rivals, basically, to the point of now where everyone knows each other's secrets, almost, unless you're Ferrari and McLaren, that is, back in the day. And and they know all these components and everything, but it's just basically more advanced, than what it used to be probably about 10-15 years ago. So I'm just basically going to obviously, just as I said, just discussing probably about DRS and obviously what KERS is, what KERS can do. Back in the day, obviously the ARS, whatever you want to call it, the TC, the turbocharger, obviously all these little components. That is it really healthy for Formula 1? Now I do want to know your opinions in terms of these things, which is nicknamed driver rage, which obviously helps the driver, to have like a bit of a boost here and there during the race, to basically help himself, help his car. Obviously, each team knows have their own little way of gaining a tenth or two within a Grand Prix, even a qualifying session, by turning the engines up, or maybe just add a bit of power to this little component for about for this session. It is quite complicated. I'm not going to try and get too complex because I don't fully understand it myself. I'm just going to basically explain the stuff that I do know, but I do want to know your opinion. Is it good that drivers do have aids that to the point of where it's going to help them in a Grand Prix? So is it good for the sport, or is it bad for the sport? I really want to know your opinions in the comment section below. And before I do carry on, guys, if you wouldn't mind as well, if you do like what you're seeing here, please hit subscribe as well. Obviously, it means a big deal to us as well. We don't ask for it for much here and there, but we are close to 300 subscribers, which will be obviously really, really nice for us towards the end of the season. Well, just the end of the season on 300, it would be very, very good. But anyways, just cracking on with the episode. My personal opinion, I'm not really a big fan of these turbochargers, of these DRS, and the KERS when they were on the car, about I'll probably say pre-2014, let's say 2013 until 2009 till 2013. So obviously let's go back to the start of 2009 when this little component called KERS got introduced. Now KERS almost worked like NOS, not almost like what do you call it on the Need for Speed games? NOS or boost or there's a certain word for it. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. But basically, it just gives you a boost. And obviously, say for about 6 seconds of stored energy, it would store in into a battery where the driver has a button where you can press it, and it'll give him an extra, I think it was an extra 30 horsepower, I think it was, KERS was, which obviously would give him a bit of a boost to catch the car in front over the course of a lap. It would reset every single lap, and obviously if you used up all your KERS during the lap, then you had no more. But say if the guy behind you had about half of his KERS used, you were in big trouble. So obviously you had to really plan when to use them and when not, and obviously when not to use them. Now this is a bit stupid really, because it was like, well, hang on, it can make the race more exciting, but we do know that the driver didn't fully do that. The car kind of helped him in a way to pull off that maneuver off. Unlike back in the day, like 2008, 2007, when a driver overtook another car to overtake him, whether that's a qualifying or the race, where obviously race being more critical, that was purely down to the driver, of his instincts, obviously where the positioning of the car, obviously just powering lap after lap after lap to catch him as well. It was proper genuine. Now obviously introducing this KERS system, it was a bit confusing. They did scrap it in 2010, but they did bring in these so-called F ducts. Now this is the concept that McLaren designed for the own, and then teams followed on as the season went on. And basically, it's almost like pre-DRS. It worked in a similar sort of way. However, you never really seen anything visual. Now, I remember Lewis Hamilton briefly explained it, where he just basically said how he would press this button, and basically something would happen on the back of the rear wing where the airflow would change, and nothing, you couldn't see anything visually, but the speed of the car would increase. It would make less drag on a straight. And then Ferrari had it, and then apparently it got banned because I think Alonso I think he was using his device one-handed. That was against the law that the FIA deemed it dangerous, and they banned it. So then they came up with the concept called DRS, which obviously I've just briefly explained there. So I mean, when I first heard of this of this concept coming in, I wasn't a big fan of it, because, like I said, I want the driver to be proper genuine. I want it to be, I don't want the drivers to have any sort of help when it comes to these sort of things. Obviously, like KERS as well, and now DRS. Now, obviously, in 2011, you had both KERS and DRS to help you overtake, and yes, it did make the a bit more exciting, which was good to see. However, you're thinking, well, now you've just taken the skill away from the driver in a way. Yes, obviously the KERS don't make the driver, the KERS don't know when to move the car to overtake the car. That's down to purely to the driver. But the reason why the driver is behind that car was because of these KERS, and it wasn't because of his pure pace. So obviously the years went on. Obviously there was talk of scrapping it. They haven't. KERS was scrapped, replaced with ERS, or I keep saying ERS because it sounds like DRS, but obviously it's called ERS. Energy recovery. It's an energy recovery system. Now this one I think it uses 20. I think it uses about 20 seconds. You can use it for about 20 seconds in a lap, and it gains about an extra 60 horsepower, I believe. I know it was a lot more than what DRS was. So yeah, but yet again, that's just more, that's just now you got more energy, to use to overtake a car, and obviously yet again taking more skill away from the driver. DRS is still around today. Obviously it hasn't been scrapped. It's been used since 2011 onwards. But this season, because of these fatter cars and obviously these wider cars, these much faster cars, DRS hasn't really become that effective. So you're thinking, well, why should teams develop this thing and concentrate on it when it doesn't come in any use? You know what I mean? Because obviously you got like the turbocharger, and obviously and the ERS as well, the ERS as I like to call it. And obviously I just want to have your guys' opinions on that as well, about the turbocharger, and the ERS. Should they be on there, or should they be on there? Well, of course they should be there, because without them the cars would be even slow. I wouldn't even recommend a car going out without a turbocharger, or even using the function ERS, because we've seen when one of the components fails, it does end up in disaster. So it is really, really tragic to see. However, hopefully we can come to some sort of agreement where Ross Brawn and obviously Sean Bratches and Chase Carey can come to some sort of agreement to maybe give the skill back to the driver. Now, obviously, thinking about skill as well. Now, last season, obviously, if you remember, when the team radio altogether was banned, where the team principals, the race engineers, wouldn't be allowed to tell the driver any some sort of information unless it was critical. Now, this involved, I think it was tire wear, fuel management, in terms of energy storage as well, strategy. It was also all those kind of things. I think that only informed about weather, car position, when to pit, and that was literally about it. If something went wrong in the car, the driver would be it would be all down to him there and then. We've seen this visually, very very vividly back in Baku 2016 when Lewis Hamilton had a major problem and he was begging and begging and begging for his team. What's the problem, guys? I don't know what the problem is. Can he just please tell us? And obviously the race engineer was just like, Bono, I was just like, sorry Lewis, I can't say anything. It's against regulations. And Hamilton's just like, right, I'm just going to press every single button on this thing. And the guys, and obviously his race engineer is just like, I would not do that. So obviously Hamilton's putting himself at risk because one, he's frustrated, doing all that. But obviously the team engineer is just like, well, I can't say anything against regulations. They did scrap that, but now that you've yet again you've taken more skill away from the driver now, because now the team engineer who hasn't driven a Formula 1 car is now telling you how to drive a Formula 1 car in a sort of way. So maybe they can try and alter that so that when a problem does occur, the team engineer can tell the driver. But in terms of when to push and when to cool the brakes and everything like that, that should be purely down to the driver as well. And obviously, when the temperatures do get hot, that's when the team engineer could say, okay, Lewis, slow it down a bit. These are getting a bit worn. These tires, these brakes are getting a bit hot because they are expensive to change. So obviously you could think about less the side of technology, about obviously talking about race, the team engineers and obviously everyone on the pit wall and back at base. But it is a team game as well. But obviously I'm not really focusing so much on the people involved. I'm more focusing on the electrical components. So hopefully, as like I said, they can just sort of rearrange it and bring the skill back to the driver, because you don't really get much of this in GP2, Formula 2 and GP3 in the lower categories as well. I think they've only introduced DRS into Formula 2. I think it was 2013 or 2014 they first introduced it. And now obviously they've got the Halo cockpit next season, obviously, unfortunately, but never mind as well. I think GP3, I think they have DRS. I think they only had it last season or the season before. I'm not too sure on that one. I know it's very, very recently as well. So obviously the lower categories as well now, that's going to help, that's take the skill away from them. So when they get the Formula 1, it's not going to be much of a challenge, is it? It's just going to be, right, I'm getting in the car, okay, it's a bit faster, but that's about it. I know what I'm doing. It's like, no, you only get in a Formula 1 car and you want it to be tricky. GP3 and GP2, keep it similar. Formula 1, no. That should be a million miles away from what those series are, because the cars are smaller, they're slower. These cars are bigger and faster, more advanced in technology as well. So, but if you're going to put all these components on these Formula 1 cars, then surely you should put it on the lower categories to prepare them for Formula 1. But if not, then okay, right. If you're not going to change them, then change the Formula 1 itself. Make the cars, as driver-like as possible. Same with the Formula 2 cars. Because if you're battling, if all the Formula 2 cars have got the same sort of pace, and you're coming into Formula 1, it's going to be a massive surprise. You're working hard in Formula 2, you're grafting, you're using all your pure driving skill. You come into Formula 1 and your turbocharger fails. Does that make you a bad driver? I don't think so as well. Obviously, as always, let us know your opinions in the comment section below. Now, we have been talking about a lot of failures, just obviously in that segment I was saying there. But speaking of failures, well, when you think of failures this season, what do you think of? McLaren? Honda? Alonso? Or do you think of Max Verstappen? Or do you think of both of them? Who knows? But obviously I think of Fernando Alonso, because obviously I'm a McLaren fan. But no. But obviously, guys, so actually some really good news on those behalves as well. Max Verstappen and not Daniel Ricciardo and Fernando Alonso is that they have both signed brand new contracts. Fernando Alonso has extended his contract for at least another year. It has not been confirmed as to how long this contract is. Alonso said it's not one season. McLaren said it is one season. I would imagine it is a season, because I can't imagine Alonso signing a 3 year deal and then for Renault to have a really bad engine and then to have like another bad season for the 4th season in a row. And Alonso isn't going to be happy about that. So I think it will be a 1 year contract. He might sign another one after that, should the season go well, but obviously who knows. But obviously I'm very, very pleased. Obviously I imagine you guys are very, very pleased as well to see Alonso remain in Formula 1. But he has said in his press conference at the US Grand Prix that he might one day, he definitely will one day go back into IndyCar. Now, he did say that this isn't going to be next season because obviously he's got commitments with McLaren and Renault, so obviously he isn't going to go there. I can imagine that because obviously Honda do power the Andretti team, who Alonso was driving for under the name of McLaren Honda in the Indy 500. So obviously Renault don't have any connections, as far as I'm aware, in the Indy 500. Now on the other on the top end of the grid, the big side of the grid, you could say, Dutch driver, 20-year-old Max Verstappen has extended his contract for another 3 years. Now, I was quite surprised. Now, I'm not surprised he signed a contract. I'm surprised it was for 3 years. So I'm like, oh, okay. So what's the plan now for Max Verstappen? You know, does he sees potential within the next couple of years with obviously Renault coming on board. Obviously Renault on board now, leaving in 2018, and then possibly I can imagine a Honda coming in 2019 and 2020, and then in 2021. That's when obviously the Aston Martin engines will be coming in. So maybe Max Verstappen is waiting for them. Maybe he is waiting for 2021. Maybe Aston Martin do have a big say. Now, we did mention this when it was announced that Aston Martin was going to have a bigger role in this. I think they're going to have a say as to who drives for Red Bull, basically. Obviously, because obviously if they're now one of the shareholders, they're now one of the main brands in the sport. With Red Bull, they're one of the title sponsors. They want two really good drivers who's going to make that team and themselves look really, really good. So obviously they probably will discuss with Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo in the foreseeable future. But I am very relatively surprised. It is a 3-year contract. However, I do believe he will see it out. You might skip after your season. I don't know. It's been an absolutely shocking season for Max Verstappen this season. Probably one of I would say the worst. Well, obviously he's only had about 2.5 seasons, 3 seasons, let's say, in Formula One. So I think obviously this season definitely has been his worst. But he might go through a lot worse seasons. He might go through a lot better. He's only 20-year-old. He's got a lot to live up to in the world of Formula One. I'm very pleased to see that he has extended, that he is staying with Red Bull. I am very, very surprised. It is 3 years. But obviously, as always, let us know your opinion in the comment section below. Obviously, about the technical regulations, about obviously the driver ratings as well. Let us know your opinions as well. Are you happy with that Alonso staying? Is McLaren making the right decision? Are they making the wrong decision? Is Max Verstappen making the right decision by signing yet another deal, a 3-year deal with Red Bull? And where does that leave Daniel Ricciardo? See, his future's been in doubt. He's in for next season, but from 2019 onwards, you don't know where he's going to go. Links with Ferrari, but that is definitely for another episode. But anyways, guys, this is where I'm wrapping up this episode. Thank you very much for watching as well. A very short episode today, about 80-minute video today. Obviously, I am on my own. Basically, I'll give you an explanation as to why it is on my own again. Well, basically, me and Lyle try to record during the week, and obviously the internet connections when we are trying to be online to talk to each other was just absolutely awful. It was to the point of where he couldn't hear me and I couldn't hear him, and then he just basically said, okay, lad, just do the episode on your own. Unfortunately, we can't do anything about it. I've got plans. I'm busy, so I was like, all right, okay, I'll do it on my own. Unfortunately, because we have had a lot of episodes on our own now. We do have a lot of commitments, but anyways, that doesn't stop the F1 Debate Show, and hopefully it doesn't stop you guys watching as well. And if you haven't already seen our US Grand Prix GP preview show, including Friday the Grid as well, that's getting very, very tight as well. I'll highly recommend going to watch that as well. Don't, go and check that out. Go and check that out as well if you haven't seen it already. Go and check out the last F1 Debate Show as well. And hopefully, if you have enjoyed what you are seeing, please leave a like on this video. Interact with us. Comment anything you want. Follow us on social media at F1_DS16 on Twitter. Like us on Facebook as well, if you wouldn't mind as well. And also stay subscribed to the F1 Debate Show as well. Obviously, really, really, highly appreciate it. As like I said, 300 subscribers. Let's see if that can continue into next season. But anyways, guys, we've been the F1 Debate Show, or I've been the F1 Debate Show, and I'll see you later.